Stop me if you've heard this before. Go to school, get good grades, get a safe job, work hard, save 10% of your paycheck, invest in a 401k, retire at 65, and then, finally, enjoy your life. This is the American dream. It's the script 99% of the population follows, and it is, mathematically, a trap. While you were trading your time for money, grinding 60 hours a week just to keep up with inflation, something strange happened at the very top. During the last global crisis, while small businesses collapsed and millions lost their jobs, the world's billionaires didn't just survive, they doubled their wealth. How? Did they work twice as hard as you? Did they skip twice as many lattes? No. They are playing a completely different game. A game with different rules, different physics, and a different language. A game where debt makes you richer, taxes are optional, and money is not something you work for, it's something that works for you. In this documentary, we are going to break the code of silence. We are going to dismantle the financial strategies of the top 1%, not the save money tips you see on daytime TV, but the actual forbidden mechanics of dynastic wealth. We will expose the buy, borrow, die strategy, the mathematical loophole of asymmetric betting, and why your savings account is slowly bleeding you dry. Warning: once you understand how the system actually works, you can never go back to seeing the world the same way again. Let's begin. To understand why you are stuck, you first have to understand that there is not one economy, there are two. There is the economy of labor, and there is the economy of assets. 99% of the population lives in the economy of labor. In this economy, your primary asset is you, your time, your energy. You sell these finite resources to an employer in exchange for currency. This is called earned income. And in the eyes of the tax code, earned income is the most punished form of money in existence. It is taxed before it even hits your bank account. It is taxed when you spend it. It is taxed by inflation when you save it. The top 1%, however, live in the economy of assets. They do not want a paycheck. In fact, many CEOs take a salary of exactly $1 a year. Why? Because they know a secret that the working class ignores. You cannot get wealthy by selling your time. Time is scarce. You only have 24 hours a day. You cannot scale time. Instead, they focus entirely on acquiring equity. When you own equity, shares in a company, real estate, intellectual property, you detach your income from your effort. But here's the darker truth that no finance guru tells you. The system is designed to inflate asset prices while suppressing wages. Every time the government prints money to save the economy, where does that money go? It doesn't go into your paycheck. It flows into the financial system, seeking yield. It flows into stocks. It flows into housing. This is called asset price inflation. If you own assets, this is a miracle. You get richer while sleeping. If you work for wages, this is a nightmare. The house you wanted to buy just went up by 20%, but your raise was only 3%. This isn't an accident, it's a feature of the system. The forbidden secret number one is simple. You are on the wrong side of the equation. As long as you are fighting for a higher wage, you are fighting a losing battle against a monetary system designed to devalue your labor. The only escape is to cross the bridge from labor to capital. But how do you do that when you have no money? You use the most dangerous tool in the financial world, a tool that destroys the poor but liberates the rich. We are taught from kindergarten that savers are winners. We are told to hoard cash for a rainy day. The top 1% look at cash as a liability. This sounds insane to the average person. How can cash be bad? Cash is a melting ice cube. If inflation is at 3%, 4%, or 7%, your savings account is guaranteed to lose value every single year. The wealthy understand that cash is not for storing wealth, it is only for moving wealth. It is transactional. They treat money like a hot potato. As soon as it comes in, they must get rid of it. They convert it immediately into something that cannot be printed. Real estate, gold, business equity, Bitcoin, fine art. This leads us to the concept of velocity of money. The poor keep money stagnant. The rich keep money moving. But here is the psychological barrier that stops you. It's fear. You are terrified of losing your hard-earned savings, so you choose safety. You choose the 0.01% interest savings account. The 1% see safety differently. To them, keeping money in a bank is the ultimate risk because it guarantees a slow death by purchasing power erosion. They prefer volatility over depreciation. They are willing to endure the swings of the market because they know that over the long term, scarce assets win against abundant currency. Always. This mindset shift is the prerequisite. You have to stop viewing money as something to be protected and start viewing it as a soldier that must be deployed. If your money is sitting still, it is dying. But deploying capital requires capital, right? Or does it? What if I told you that the richest people on earth often use none of their own money to acquire these assets? They use OPM, other people's money. And specifically, they use a type of debt that is invisible to the working class. While you use debt to buy liabilities, cars that lose value, phones that break, clothes that fade, the 1% use debt to buy cash flow. And the craziest part? The tax code rewards them for it. This brings us to the mechanism that allows billionaires to pay less tax than their secretaries. It's a three-step strategy that is perfectly legal, widely used, and morally questionable depending on who you ask. It's called buy, borrow, die. And in the next part, we are going to tear this strategy apart, step by step, to show you exactly how the magic trick is performed. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember these 3 words. This is the holy grail of wealth preservation. It is the strategy used by Elon Musk, Larry Ellison, and nearly every dynasty family in America. It is called buy, borrow, die. And it exploits a fundamental loophole in the tax code that simply does not exist for the working class. Let's break it down. Step 1. Buy. You take your surplus capital and you buy appreciating assets. Stocks, real estate, businesses. As we discussed, let's say you buy $1 million worth of Amazon stock. Over 10 years, it grows to $10 million. You have made a $9 million profit. Now here is where the average person messes up. They see that profit and they want to spend it, so they sell the stock. The moment you sell, you trigger a capital gains tax. Depending on where you live, the government takes 20 to 30% of your profit instantly. You just lost millions of dollars for the privilege of accessing your own money. The top 1% never sell. They know that selling is a sin. Selling stops the compounding effect. Selling triggers taxes. So how do they eat? How do they buy the yachts? How do they fund the lifestyle? They move to step 2. Step 2. Borrow. Instead of selling the stock, they go to a bank and say, I have $10 million in Amazon stock. I pledge this as collateral. Give me a loan for $5 million. The bank loves this. It's a secured loan. They give you the cash at a very low interest rate, let's say 3% or 4%. Now catch this. This is the magic trick. Loan proceeds are not income. When you get a paycheck, it's taxable. When you get a loan, it is not taxable. So you just received $5 million in cash to spend however you want, and you pay $0 in taxes on it. Zero. Meanwhile, your $10 million in stock is still yours. It is still growing. If the stock grows at 8% a year and the loan costs you 4% a year, you are actually getting richer by borrowing money. You are using the bank's money to fund your life while your assets work undisturbed. But wait, don't you have to pay the loan back eventually? That brings us to the final, grim step. Die. This sounds morbid, but it is a financial strategy. When you eventually pass away, your estate settles your debts. But here is the loophole of the century. The step up in basis. When your heirs inherit your assets, the cost of those assets is reset to the current market value. Remember that stock you bought for $1 million that is now worth $10 million? If you sold it while alive, you'd owe tax on the $9 million gain. But when you die, the government treats it as if your heirs bought it for $10 million. The $9 million in capital gains simply evaporates. It vanishes. The tax liability is wiped clean. Your heirs can sell the stock the next day for $10 million and pay zero capital gains tax. They pay off your loan, keep the rest, and the cycle begins again. This is how dynasties are built. Not by working hard, but by never selling, borrowing against assets, and resetting the tax clock at death. Now, I can hear you screaming at the screen, but debt is dangerous. Dave Ramsey told me debt is evil. And for 99% of people, that is true. Because 99% of people only have access to bad debt. Bad debt is consumer debt. You borrow money to buy things that lose value, liabilities, at high interest rates. You buy a TV on a credit card. The TV is worth less tomorrow, and you're paying 20% interest. This is financial suicide. This is slavery. The 1% use good debt. Good debt has three characteristics. It is used to buy an asset that goes up in value or pays you income. The asset pays for the debt itself. The interest is often tax deductible. Imagine you buy a rental property. You put 20% down and the bank gives you 80%. You put tenants in the property. The tenants pay rent. That rent covers the mortgage, the insurance, and the repairs. Essentially, the tenants are paying off your debt for you. You control 100% of the asset, but you only used 20% of your own money. This is called leverage. Leverage is the force multiplier of wealth. If you have $100,000 and you invest it in cash and it grows 10%, you make $10,000. But if you use that $100,000 as a down payment on a $500,000 asset, and that asset grows 10%, you make $50,000. You just made a 50% return on your money simply by using the bank's capital. The rich do not fear debt. They fear unproductive capital. They will take on millions in debt as long as the mathematics work, as long as the return on the asset is higher than the cost of the debt. This is called positive arbitrage. While the poor work for money to pay off past debts, the rich use debt to control future assets. There is a final mechanic in the zero tax strategy that you see every day on Instagram, but you might not understand what you're looking at. The company car, the business trip to Dubai, the home office. Here is the rule of the tax code. Employees earn money, pay tax, and spend what is left. Business owners earn money, spend everything they can, and pay tax on what is left. The system is rigged to incentivize business owners. Why? Because the government believes business owners create jobs and housing, so the government offers them Deductions. If you're an employee and you buy a laptop to do your work, you pay for that with after-tax dollars. You earned $2,000, the government took $500, you have $1,500 left to buy the laptop. If you're a business owner, you buy the laptop with pre-tax dollars. The laptop is an expense that reduces your taxable income. The 1% structure their entire lives around entities, LLCs, corporations, trusts. They don't own anything in their own name. Own nothing, control everything. Their corporation owns the car. Their corporation owns the phone. Their corporation pays for the travel. They live a rich lifestyle, but on paper, their personal income is low. And because their personal income is low, their tax bill is low. To the uneducated, this looks like cheating. To the wealthy, it is simply following the instruction manual that the government wrote. But here's the problem. You're watching this and thinking, okay, I get it. Buy assets, use debt, start a business. But I have no money. I live paycheck to paycheck. How do I even start? You cannot use the buy, borrow, die strategy if you have nothing to buy and nothing to borrow against. You need the initial capital. You need the seed money. And getting that first chunk of capital requires a completely different mindset. It requires stopping the slow lane investing and making an asymmetric bet. In the final part of this documentary, we will show you exactly how the self-made members of the 1% built their initial fortune from scratch and how you can replicate that risk-reward model today. Here's the brutal truth that the slow and steady financial gurus ignore. You cannot save your way to the 1%. If you earn $50,000 a year and save 20%, you will have $1 million in 40 years. By then, inflation will have cut that $1 million in half. You will be old, tired, and barely middle class. The wealthy do not get wealthy by diversifying. They get wealthy by concentrating. They get wealthy by making asymmetric bets. What is an asymmetric bet? It is a scenario where the potential upside is exponentially higher than the potential downside. Think about starting a YouTube channel, or writing a piece of software, or buying into a high-risk startup, or even a speculative asset like crypto during a bear market. What is your downside? You lose time. You lose a small amount of capital. The downside is capped. What is your upside? It is uncapped. That YouTube channel could become $1 million brand. That crypto could do 100x return. That startup could IPO. The 1% start their journey here. They take aggressive risks when they have nothing to lose. Jeff Bezos quit a high-paying job to sell books online. That was an asymmetric bet. Elon Musk put his last $30 million into SpaceX and Tesla when they were on the brink of bankruptcy. That was an asymmetric bet. Diversification is for keeping wealth. Concentration is for building wealth. If you are young and broke, playing it safe is actually the most dangerous thing you can do. So how do you actually do this? How do you go from zero to the buy, borrow, die level? You cannot just walk into a bank and ask for a $10 million loan today. You have to build the foundation. Here is the 3-step roadmap used by almost every self-made millionaire. Phase 1, the cash flow engine. Stop investing in the S&P 500 with your $100. It doesn't matter. A 10% return on $100 is $10. That's a sandwich. Invest in yourself. Learn a high-income skill. Sales, coding, copywriting, content creation, AI prompt engineering. You need to escape the hourly wage trap and move to result-based income. Your goal here is to generate surplus cash, seed money. Phase 2, speculation. Take that surplus cash, money you can afford to lose, and throw it at asymmetric bets. Start a side business, buy volatile assets, build a product. Most of these will fail. That's okay. You only need one to hit. When one hits, you don't buy a Lamborghini, You take that lump sum of cash and you move to phase 3. Phase 3, consolidation. This is where you switch gears. You take your new money and you dump it into old money assets. You buy real estate. You buy dividend stocks. You buy businesses that run without you. Now you have collateral. Now you can walk into the bank. Now you can execute, buy, borrow, die. This is the cycle. Generate cash, take risks, buy assets, borrow against assets, live tax-free. The system we live in is not broken. It is working exactly as it was designed. It was designed to reward capital and punish labor. It was designed to extract value from the unaware and funnel it to the hyper-aware. You can be angry about this, you can protest, you can complain that the rich don't pay their fair share, or you can learn the rules. The information in this video used to be locked behind country club memberships and expensive masterminds. Now it is right here in front of you. The gatekeepers are gone. The barrier to entry is 0. The only variable left is you. Are you going to wake up tomorrow and go back to the labor economy? Or are you going to start building your own equity? The choice is yours. But remember, in the game of money, if you don't know who the sucker is at the table, it's probably you. If you made it this far, you are already ahead of 90% of the population. But information without action is just entertainment. I want to know who is serious. If you are committed to escaping the rat race and joining the ownership class, I want you to comment below, I am the 1%. Make that declaration to yourself and to this community. And listen, we have only scratched the surface. In the next documentary, I'm going to break down the first 100K, the exact step-by-step guide to building your first 6 figures of liquid capital, even if you have no degree and no experience. You do not want to miss that. Click that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you're the first to know when we drop the blueprint. See you on the other side.